You are listening to I Am Refocused podcast with your host, Shemaya Reed. This podcast is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. Now, let's tune into today's podcast.
This is I Am Refocused podcast, and today we have an awesome show for you guys. We are talking to Leslie Juvin-Acker.
Thank you.
Yes, she is the president and chief happiness officer of Leslie Inc. And she has over 10 years experience as a career development and emotional intelligence expert from global industry leaders, including IBM, Adidas, Facebook, and she has coached hundreds of individuals. I wanted to start the show and say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And how are you?
Shemaya, I'm great. And thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yes, ma'am. And I just want to start off with, tell us a little bit about your career and what you do.
So what Leslie Inc. is a management consulting company. And what we do is we help businesses improve their corporate culture, creating a harmonious one, as well as improving their productivity through coaching and skills training. And I've been doing this for over 10 years now, starting in the great economic recession. So I've gained a lot of experience in how to help people navigate their careers and businesses through their most challenging times of their lives.
Speaking of challenging times, what has been the most challenging point in your own career, and how did you overcome that?
I would say the most challenging point in my career has been really coming to terms with my own abilities as an intuitive. I'm a highly intuitive person. You would say psychic medium, but I have this ability to read people's energies and help them from a different point of view to understand emotional, psychological, and even spiritual issues that might be blocking their career, professional success. So that came to me after a time I had a postpartum depression with my first child. And I thought it was crazy and I didn't know what to do. And then I had to come to terms with they have these abilities and that I use them in helping me and helping others in their careers. So that was a tough point in my career, and just kind of coming out and being who I am and integrating that aspect into my business.
Using that to help people, what has been some of the feedback from them as far as you having the ability to do those type of things?
Well, I work in my specialty has been working a lot with action sports, with pharmaceuticals, biotech, and high-tech companies. So there were some clients who were very afraid of that. I would remember I'd walk into businesses and some people would literally run away from me because they thought that I would be able to read their minds and everything about them. So it was kind of scary for them. But I have to say, largely and on the whole, the response has been amazing because I've been able to help people pinpoint faster their problem points and help them move forward where traditional coaching would probably take 6 months to a year. So it's actually proven to be very successful in my work environment, actually.
And speaking of work environment, you have written a book. Can you tell us about that book?
So I've written The Money Formula, and it's coming out October 9th. And this book is about how to change your relationship with money in 7 steps in 15 minutes or less. Everybody has a relationship with money. And when you think a word like money or debt or wealth, there's usually a mental image and an emotional connection to that word. And that word can set us on a self-sabotaging path or a self-affirming one. And I help people to set them on a self-affirming relationship with money.
Money is a very hot topic. You said in the book that you had a shameful secret. What inspired you to write that? And tell us a bit about that.
So I had a very shameful secret. In fact, it was after 9 years of coaching, I had been helping all of my clients make a lot of money. And in fact, those clients who had begun coaching with me in the very beginning now, on average, make at least 30% more than someone in their current in similar position. So my clients were having a lot of financial success. I've helped clients become multimillionaires and break $100,000 marks, even $200,000 and more in salaries every year. And my only problem was I was doing it for everyone else. I wasn't doing it for myself. And that was my struggle. No matter how much or how hard I worked, I couldn't break through my own financial limits, and my relationship with money was pretty tough. So in coming to terms with my own limitations, this formula came about, and it really changed my life and so many other people's.
And when it comes to financial abundance, everyone is in search for that. What are some of the tips that you share in the book for people to just go out there and kind of rethink how they think about money?
Well, I have in the book, The Money Formula, some case studies of real people who experienced a limiting relationship with money. And for example, there's a woman in the book called Susanna, and she had an all or nothing relationship with money in her career. In fact, one would label her as a workaholic. She worked a lot, so much so that she didn't have a family and couldn't have children. In fact, she had several miscarriages. And in the book, we discovered that she had her own money formula, which kept her from becoming a mom. And this was based out of a subconsciously rooted memory that she got from her childhood. And so we corrected that belief. And from there, she was actually able to completely change her life and start to have a different relationship with money and what her idea of family really meant. So that's just one of the examples in the book, but that's some place that listeners here can begin to think about their relationship with money. What are you sacrificing for money? You might not even consciously know it, but it might be there.
When it comes to managing money, what's some of the things that you've seen people as far as patterns? What's the biggest trouble people have when it comes to money management?
Well, the money management portion is this number one conflict, is that you can have what you think about money, and then you can have what you feel about money. Someone like myself, I am highly financially literate. I took personal finance in college. I studied international economics. I really, truly understand money as a concept. But when it came to something becoming real for me and having a relationship with me, I felt completely different from what I knew. And what I seek to help people do with the money formula as a tool is to help people align what they think about money with what they feel about money, so it's one cohesive truth for them that helps them create the lifestyle that they want.
And if you're just now joining us, we are talking to Leslie Juvin-Acker. A lot of times people get afraid of money. A lot of times people want to settle and say, well, maybe it's just not meant for me. Maybe I'm not meant to earn more money or find new ways to start a business. What would you say to the naysayers out there who feel like money is just a bad thing for some people?
Actually, that's a really good question. What I talk about in the book is one of these financial principles, what I call the money formula principles. And one of them is called love your money. And I encourage people to become friends with money, fall in love with it, and treat it like your best friend, because your best friend would never fail you, would always be there for you, is always offering help, and is always there in the most unexpected ways. And if we can start thinking about money as our best friend, then we can see our financial relationship in a completely different point of view.
In your book, The Money Formula, what's some major keys that you want the reader to take away after they finish reading?
What I want listeners to take away from the money formula is that it's not just about money, it's about your relationship with money. And every word in the financial dictionary, we find ourselves very intimidated by the concepts of money and every word that goes into it, like credit and loan and debt and mortgage and all of these things. And we avoid them. We distract ourselves from them. But I want to say is that you can have a really good relationship with money and every word in the financial dictionary by changing that relationship with this very simple protocol. So you can start taking all of those things you wanted to do and start tackling them.
Man, you always having fun. You know what they say, time always goes by fast. So before we end the first half of the show, on the second half, I want to talk a little bit about this Women's Financial Freedom Tour and how people can get involved. Before we close this first one, tell us, how can people find your website?
You can join me at themoneyformula.leslieinc.org to learn more about the book, The Money Formula, sign up, become a community partner, and just become a part of the movement.
Before we let y'all go, man, we just want to say, don't touch that iPhone, because we are here, I Am Refocused Podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, and make sure you go to refocusedmagazine.com to see and hear all the amazing interviews that we have for y'all. Don't touch that iPhone. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Rockafellas Barbershop. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will be blessed and be glad in Him. Today I want to introduce myself. My name is Rico Rodriguez at Rockafellas Barbershop here in San Antonio, Texas, 1733 Babcock Rd. My phone number is 210-782-5188. And again, we do walk-ins on Sundays. You are listening to I Am Refocused Podcast on iHeartRadio. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Does your website need more traffic? Well, visit overflowcafe.com today. They make websites popular, and over 41,000 people use their service to gain more customers. They are winning our business. What about you? Visit overflowcafe.com today.
This is I Am Refocused Podcast. You just heard the commercial break. Shout out to my boy Rico Rodriguez, the owner of Rockafellas Barbershop. We are talking to Leslie Juvin-Acker, and we just had a nice little first half of the show. But the second half of the show, I want to ask this question. You have a Women's Financial Freedom Tour. Tell us a little bit about that, and how can people get involved?
Shemaya, the Women's Financial Freedom Tour is really helping women empower themselves and create a fresh relationship with money. You know, women are growing in the marketplace. As women in the United States, we control 80% of consumer spending, 60% of the nation's wealth. We are getting advanced educations at a higher rate than men today, up to 45% more. So we have an amazing position, and there's so much more room for growth when it comes to our relationship with money, because we find ourselves feeling in the financial industry underserved. And we find ourselves, because many of us are young women who are becoming mothers, that we're behind in our careers. And we want to empower women to see their relationship with money in a completely different way. Not to blame men, but to really see everything for what it is, and to really focus on how can I improve my relationship with money and get what I really want out of life as a woman, outside of anybody else's standards for myself. So we're inviting women across the country, but we're starting in San Diego, to join us and have a real productive conversation about money. And if you're listening, if you're a man or a woman or you're a financial expert, we're welcoming you to come and become a community organizer, and bring your friends, bring your colleagues, your company, to have me come in, and we'll start talking about how we feel about money. If you're a business, or if you're someone who would really like to add to the conversation in terms of empowering women, become a community partner, you can do that too. You can visit us at leslieinc.org/freedom tour. And we just would love to provide information, resources, expert advice, but really begin starting with this: how do I feel and think about money?
And make sure you definitely get the money formula. I mean, that's the key point. That's the ABCD, like start from the beginning. Now, speaking to empowering women, what is that one thing that they can do if they're brand new to this whole money talks? What's that one thing that they can do right now after hearing this podcast to start their journey?
Well, what I really recommend them to do is go and buy their copy of the book. You can find out more at themoneyformula.leslieinc.org. Just get your copy, read it. It's a very fast read. I designed the Money Formula to be 108 pages, so it is a good, fast read. You can read it in the afternoon and really begin to evaluate what trigger words are sabotaging your financial relationships. And when you begin to see those patterns, your whole life will change in amazing ways because you're starting to think and feel happier about money.
And that makes total sense because the way you think kind of determines how you act, and how you act determines your results. So give us a little case study. What's some of the things that you notice as far as the difference between someone who starts to see the fruit of their labor as far as money goes versus someone who's still struggling? What's the difference? What is one person doing? What's the other one not doing?
So let's talk about one of the case studies in the book. This guy's name is Peter, and Peter had a really good job, but he continually felt pigeonholed in his career, and every time he would ask for a raise, he would not get that raise. And so Peter came to me and said, "What is going on? What am I doing?" So we did the money formula on Peter, and he realized in childhood he usually waited for permission to do everything, like to go outside and play with friends. He would call his friends and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry to disturb you, but can so-and-so come and play with me today?" And of course the parents would say, "Oh, well, sorry, no." So he patterned himself to expect rejection. And what he really wanted by playing with his friends was happiness. And for Peter, in his circumstance, he equated more money to happiness. And if he was not getting permission to have more money, then therefore he was keeping happiness from himself. So when we did the money formula with Peter, he determined that when he didn't need to ask permission anymore for a raise, he could actually give himself more money, literally by just saying, "I'm ready for more money in my life," and just believing that that was possible for him. In Peter's situation, his CEO ignored him, never responded to his request for money. But what happened was even better. Peter went and found another job. He got, I think it was a promotion of $30,000 more, working less time, less hours, more money. Wow. And he just got the promotion. He got the promotion and he got a better job and more money. So that's one of those little things that the money formula can help you do, is to tweak what you want out of life and give it to yourself.
In your About Me section, it says Chief Happiness Officer. How does happiness take a big effect on a person's life?
Well, I absolutely believe that happiness is good for the bottom line. It's good for business. When you are happy, when you're feeling confident about yourself and you're passionate and you are tapped into your purpose and your gifts and your own resources, people are just automatically attracted to that. And even better, you're attracted the right people who are resonating with you and seeing the value that you have. And those partnerships become more natural and more fruitful and abundant. And I believe that if you are tapped into your happiness, i.e. what's important to you, what are your values, your purpose, and who you are, the more attractive you are to other people. So I say that in my work, the happier you are, the more emotionally and spiritually and mentally balanced you are, the more successful you're going to be in the professional realm and on the long term.
That's what this money formula is, because it incorporates all those small little details that form the bigger picture. And that's the biggest problem for most people. It's not that they don't have the means to do it. They just never knew how to do it.
Right. Absolutely.
And what will you say to that person 9 to 5 who may get this book, The Money Formula, and say, you know what if I went for my own business? What words of wisdom will you give someone who will want to become an entrepreneur?
My number one thing, Shemaiah, when I talk to people who are considering their own businesses, is to really tap into what is the ultimate purpose that you want to serve in your community, as in how do you see the world changing as a result of the product or service that you're offering? And B, what are you an expert in? What are you so good in that it's almost impossible to find anywhere else, because that's where your commanding value is. And when you feel like you don't have to give it away, but because you see the value for it, then it becomes easier to have financial conversations and to command the value that you're giving to your community. The people who are able to tap into those things feel more confident in themselves, and it's easier to have financial conversations and to make tough decisions because you understand your value and you understand your business's purpose in your community.
Confidence is clarity, and without clarity, you're like throwing darts in the dark. You're never going to hit a target. So speaking of the individual right now, they're listening to this podcast and they're ready to go. Man, I gotta get this money formula. A lot of times we do stuff and we end up burning out. What are some words of advice you have for someone who's totally brand new to this, learning how money works? What words of wisdom will you give to someone so that they don't burn out trying to do this?
Well, I am an expert on burning out because I've burned out myself. and I've helped a lot of people recover from burnout. And the one thing that I know for sure about burnout is that you're not giving yourself these fundamental needs that you need to be happy. And I mean, I do it sometimes myself because I'm so excited helping everybody else get their thing that I burn out. It's like the caregiver's fatigue, right? And I encourage people, if you're working and you're caring for everyone in your life, your family, your kids, your spouse, or maybe a loved one that's sick, think about what is it that you really need? What is it that makes you happy? Maybe money is not the solution. And the book doesn't assert that money will make you happy. It means it's a byproduct of your happiness and your relationship to it. But I ask you to really evaluate, what's important to you? What is it that you really need to be happy? And organize yourself in such a way that you could allow yourself to have and experience those things. Because I believe, Shemaiah, that happiness and abundance is just having more of those things that you love. And that might not be material. It might be emotional or spiritual, but give it to yourself first. And the money formula helps you to reprioritize and focus on what matters to you. Tap into your imagination, define your purpose for the money that you seek to funnel into your life, visualize, and really, truly know that in this universe, you can have what you want, but you just have to be able to align yourself with it.
Leslie Inc. Solutions for Finding Happiness. That makes total sense with all you just said, because not only do people put themselves in the way, but they allow other people to get in the way. Touch on that a little bit before we end the show. How can people prioritize their time so that they're not in the way and they're not allowing other people to block them from making the moves?
Well, what I've seen a lot of the times is that people make other people's happiness a condition for their own happiness. For example, I've seen some couples come in here and they say, well, I can't be happy unless my wife is happy, or I can't be happy unless my kids are happy. But what we do is we take their happiness as our own responsibility, and that's a very dangerous place to be. So if you begin to empower people to find out what is their version of happy, what is their version of success, and empower them to go get it for themselves, then you'll have the time and the emotional and mental space to give it to yourself as well, because we cannot enable people. We have to give them skills. We have to give them tools. We have to give them resources, and trust that they have the capacity to figure out what makes them happy and to create it for themselves.
Tell us one more time, when does this Women's Financial Freedom Tour kick off?
So we're kicking off in San Diego, and we'll hopefully be coming to a town near you. We're doing that in October and November of 2018. And if you are just listening to this and you feel like you really want us to be a part of it somehow in your town or whatever, just give us a call. You can email us, workhappy@leslieinc.org, or visit us at leslieinc.org/freedom tour. Get involved, and we would love to come to your town.
In the Money Formula book, you must get that. Where can they find that when that comes out?
Well, we'll be in Barnes & Noble. We'll be in Amazon. You can get it in paperback and digital. And you can also buy directly from us at themoneyformula.leslieinc.org. And if you buy directly from us, you'll get a signed copy and some extra Leslie Inc. goodies.
And if there's a business out there, organization that will like your expertise, how can they book you?
Well, all they have to do is just go to leslieinc.org, or just email us directly at workhappy@leslieinc.org and say, help my company work happy in the email subject. Mention Shemaiah's podcast, and we will be happy to help.
That's awesome. Well, we are talking to Leslie Juvin-Acker, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and making this podcast episode happy.
Thank you, Shemaya. You have a great show, and I'm so happy to be a part of all your wonderful guests in your community. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. And before we close the show, is there any last information that you want to give out to our audience?
Oh, well, absolutely. You can follow us on Instagram at Leslie Inc. or on Facebook at Official Leslie Inc. And if you buy a copy of the book, you could also join our online readers group, the Money Formula Book Readers Group, and you can talk about it there. And also, we do have an online academy. It's called the Money Formula Academy, and you can also sign up for that and see me teach it, get workshop resources, and more.
Leslie Juvin-Acker, I want to say, you guys, make sure you go check out our website, leslieinc.org, and just make sure you go get that book, The Money Formula, and the Women's Financial Freedom Tour. All the information is going to be right there, leslieinc.org. Well, we don't want to close this broadcast just like we do every single time we go on the show. Keep God first, stay focused, and peace.